and welcome to this video on solving simple linear equations. In this video we will cover what is solving an equation and the key rules to remember, solving one-step equations using all four operations, so this means we will use addition, subtraction, multiplication and division, as you can see. And throughout the video we will do practice questions, but towards the end we will do a couple of past exam questions. Now these are suitable for GABECE and BECE candidates in West Africa, but anyone can try them out. They're great for anyone revising, no matter where you are in the world. So what is solving an equation? Basically, to put it simply, it just means finding the value of x or any algebraic value. So this means to solve an equation, your end product will be x equals something, a number. Or what I mean by any algebraic value is it could be any letter of the alphabet. It could be P, it could be Q, any of those. Now there are some key rules to remember, which won't make sense until we go through our example, but I'll run through them quickly so you can keep them in mind. So rule number 1, we must always get x by itself. Number 2, we need to use opposite operations. So this means that just so you remember that the opposite of addition is subtraction, the opposite of multiplication is division, and vice versa for both of them. And last but not least, whatever we do to one side, we must do to the other, and this is really key. So let's do our first example, and we're going to solve these equations using addition and subtraction. So this question says, solve x plus 3 equals 7. And if we think back to our rules, we must always get x by itself. So immediately we're thinking, how can I get x by itself? Well, luckily, if we look at our second rule, you use opposite operations to get x by itself. So all this means is that on the side where x is, we also have this plus 3. Now we have to do the opposite of plus 3, so that x then is by itself. So we also subtract 3. Now 3 minus 3 cancels to 0, and that leaves x by itself. Now we have to remember our last rule, which is whatever you do to one side, you must do to the other. So we have already subtracted 3 on the left side, so that leaves us to subtract 3 on the right side from 7. And that gives 4. Now we have got x by itself, so we've completed it and we've solved the equation. It cannot be simplified any further. So there's also a way to check whether your value for x is correct. So is x truly equal to 4? Well, let's check. And we do this by substituting it into the original equation, which over here is x plus 3 equals 7. So we have just found that x is equal to 4. So over here we will write 4 plus 3. Now if it is the correct value, it should equal 7. Does 4 plus 3 equal 7? Yes. So we know that this is correct. If you were substituting the value you've got for x back into the equation and you're not getting the number that you should be, you maybe need to think and go back, check your answer, see if you've gone wrong somewhere. Okay, this question says solve x minus 3 equals 7. So instead we have a minus here. Well, let's think back to our rules to remember. We want to get x by itself, so we have to use opposite operation. So instead of minus 3, we now have to plus 3. This leaves us with x, because 3 minus 3 plus 3 gives 0, and we have to then add 3 also onto the right hand side. So 7 plus 3 makes 10. Now if we're checking this, we substitute it back into the original equation. And we see that 10 minus 3 does indeed equal 7. So I'd now like you to pause the video and try this one for yourself. Okay, So we have solve x minus 2 equals 9. So I know that I want to get x by itself, and to do this, I'm also going to use a different colour to make it clear. Use the opposite operation. So I now have to add 2, and I must remember that I will do it to both sides of the equation. So x minus 2, add 2, is equal to 9, add 2. So I've added 2 to both sides, so that leaves me with minus 2 and plus 2 makes 0, so that is x is equal to 9 plus 2 is 11. That is our final answer. Let's check if we've got it correct by substituting into the original equation. So we have 11 minus 2, and that is also equal to 9. So we know that we've got the correct answer. So well done if you got that right. So we used all of this. We got x by itself, we used opposite operations, and we did it to both sides. Now I'd like you to try this one. Solve x plus 6 is equal to 9. Pause the video, have a go. Okay, so we have x plus 6 is equal to 9. Now immediately to get x by itself, I know I'm going to use the opposite operation, which is subtraction rather than addition. So I'm going to subtract 6. And I remember I have to do, whatever I do, I must do it to both sides. So I'm going to subtract 6 from the right hand side as well. And that leaves me with plus 6 minus 6 cancels, so that is the same as x is equal to 9 minus 6 is 3. Okay, I'm just going to check it very quickly. X plus 6 equals 9. Well, we found that x was 3. 3 plus 6 is equal to 9. So yes, I think that's correct. Okay, now we're going to solve one-step equations using multiplication and division. So this is where it gets a little bit trickier, but as long as you keep the rules to remember in your head, it should be relatively easy to grasp. So here we have solve 2x is equal to 10. Now, what I always tell my students to remember, is that in the middle of here is an invisible multiplication. Now, we never use multiplication signs in algebra. We put the number next to the letter if they are being multiplied with each other. So this is helping us when we think about what operation we need to use when we're using our opposite operation. So we want to get x by itself, and we have to use the opposite operation. Well, the opposite of multiplication is division. So what we will do is we're going to, instead of multiply by 2, we're going to divide by 2. And remember, we don't use division signs in algebra, so we put it as a fraction. So this is 2x over 2. Now we know that here, 2 divided by 2 is 1, it will cancel, and we will get x by itself. We also need to remember that whatever we do to one side, we must do to the other. So I will also do 12 over 2, or 12 divided by 2, and that gives us 5. Now I'm going to check, let's see, by substituting 5 into the original equation. So 2x should equal 10. So 2 multiplied by 5, that does equal 10. So we know that we're correct. So again, we just used the opposite of multiplication, which was division. And we did it to both sides, okay? So next we're going to be using multiplication rather than division. So we have x over 2, which we know this is the same as saying x divided by 2, okay, is equal to 4. So we know with our rules to remember, to get x by itself, we're going to have to use the opposite operation. The opposite of division is multiplication. So we're going to multiply by 2. So x multiplied by 2, and we have to do the same to the other side as well, but x multiplied by 2. Now remember, this is the same as writing 2x over 2, and they will cancel, okay? And the same to the other side, 4 multiplied by 2, that makes 8. Now if you check that, it would be the same as writing 8 over 2 equals 4, and 8 divided by 2 does equal 4, so we know that's also correct. So again, we used the opposite operation. Opposite of division is multiplication. We did the same to both sides, and we got x by itself. So now it's your turn. So I'm going to give you the question. You can pause, we'll go through the answer, and you'll try the next question. So first question, solve 9x is equal to 27. Okay, let's have a go. So we know that this is the same as saying 9 multiplied by x is equal to 27. So the opposite, when we think of our rules to remember, to get x by itself, we're going to have to use the opposite operation, which is division. So I'm going to write this as 9x divided by 9 is equal to 27 divided by 9. I'm doing the same to both sides. I cancel these, which leaves x by itself. I know that 27 divided by 9 is equal to 3. Now if I were to substitute that back into the original equation, I would get the same answer. Okay, have a go at x over 3 is equal to 7. So x over 3 is equal to 7. Well, here x is being divided by 3. So to get it by itself, I must multiply by 3. So I'll write x over 3 multiplied by 3 is equal to 7 multiplied by 3. Now this makes 3x over 3, and here it makes 21. So I will cancel that, and x is equal to 21. Now our last one is a bit tricky. I haven't gone through an example with this. So solve 6x plus 2 is equal to 26. I will give you a hint. We're using exactly the same method as before. We will deal with this plus 2 first, and then we will deal with the 6x. So have a go by yourself, see if you can get it. We'll go through it together after you've had a go. Okay, so this is saying solve 6x plus 2 is equal to 26. So my first instinct is to get rid of this plus 2 so that we're closer to having the x by itself, because then only the 6x will remain on one side. So I know that I'll do 6x plus 2 minus 2 is equal to 26 minus 2. Again, I'm doing the opposite operation on both sides. That leaves me with 6x is equal to 24. Now I know that x is being multiplied by 6. To do the opposite, I must divide by 6, and I must divide by 6 on both sides. So I do 6x over 6 is equal to 24 over 6. I'll cancel the 6's, which leaves x by itself, and 24 divided by 6 is equal to 4. Now if we substitute this back into the original equation, let's check, because it's the first we've done of this kind. 6 multiplied by 4 plus 2 should equal, and now it should equal 26. So let's see, 6 multiplied by 4 is 24, and then plus 2 is equal to 26. So we know we've got that correct. So well done if you got those correct. Now let's try some past exam questions. So the first question is solve the equation 3x plus 5 is equal to 4. And this is taken from GABECE in May 2011. The second question, which I'd like you to try, is if 6n plus 4 is equal to 16, find the value of n. So it's saying the same thing in different words, which is basically solve the equation and find what n is equal to. Now this was taken from the 2005 BECE. So try both of, pause the video, have a go, we'll go through it now. Okay, first one was 3x plus 5 is equal to minus 4. So just as I did before, I'm going to deal with this plus 5 first. So opposite of plus 5 is minus 5. So 3x plus 5 minus 5 is equal to minus 4 minus 5. So these two cancel. That leaves me with 3x is equal to minus 9. Okay, remember, when you are subtracting from a negative number, it becomes more negative. So then I am going to divide by 3 as the opposite to get x by itself. So I'm going to do the same to both sides. That cancels and leaves x by itself. And minus 9 divided by 3 is the same as minus 3. So we look at our options here, and if you circled C, you would be correct. Now let's move on to this question. And this one is solve 6n plus 4 is equal to 16. Again, I'm going to deal with the plus 4 first. So that leaves me with 6n plus 4 minus 4 is equal to 16. Again, doing the same on both sides, minus 4. This cancels and leaves 6n is equal to 12. Now I know I want to get n by itself. It can be simplified further. So 6n means the same as 6 multiplied by n. So I will do the opposite, which is division. So I'm going to divide by 6 now on both sides. This cancels and leaves n by itself, and this makes 2. So here you would circle A, and if you circled A, you got that question correct. So thank you for watching my first video. There is more maths content coming soon. Make sure to subscribe if you would like to see more in this series, and also follow on Instagram if you want extra tips and tricks. There is going to be more content coming there soon. So thank you.